Our mission today is to unpack the story, the underlying meaning, and the profound themes of this musical, which is called Dogfight.
Right.
And along the way, we'll explain why Theater 444's unique, immersive production this August is a must-see local theatrical event that you really, really won't want to miss.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it. Setting the scene here isn't just about providing a backdrop, right? The exact time and place kind of act as the engine for the entire narrative.
Oh, absolutely. The authors explicitly anchor this story in a very specific window of time. So the curtain rises on November 21st, 1963.
In San Francisco.
Right, in San Francisco.
And November 21st, 1963, I mean, that's the literal eve of the John F. Kennedy assassination.
Exactly.
That cannot be a coincidence. Every person in the audience knows exactly what happens the very next day in Dallas. But, the characters on stage are completely oblivious.
Right, the dramatic irony is just suffocating. The production notes actually highlight that the majority of the show takes place in these final fleeting hours of like an age of American innocence.
Wow.
That whole era of post-war Camelot optimism is about to quickly and violently dissipate.
And running parallel to that political precipice is the looming shadow of the Vietnam War.
Yeah, exactly.
And that tension is how we're introduced to our main characters. We meet 3 young Marines.
Eddie Birdlace, Boland, and Bernstein.
Right, and they are just overflowing with this aggressive, boisterous, almost feral energy. They even sport matching bumblebee tattoos on their arms.
Yeah, they proudly call themselves the 3Bs.
Which is just, yeah.
Well, and if you look at the musical notes for their opening numbers, Pasek and Paul specifically designed the score to reflect that swagger.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, they sing this muscular, percussion-heavy track called Some Kind of Time.
Okay, I saw that in the libretto, yeah.
Right, declaring they'll be, quote, kings for an evening. The brass is blaring, the tempo is incredibly fast. It is just a sonic representation of American arrogance.
They're completely void of consequence.
Totally unaware of the nightmare that's waiting for them across the Pacific Ocean.
And that feeling of untouchable invincibility, that sets up the central premise of the show, which honestly I found incredibly brutal to read.
It's extremely tough.
It's their last night stateside before shipping out, and they decide to participate in a secret Marine tradition called a dogfight.
Right, which is a tradition that the authors note is based on actual historical practices within certain military branches during that era.
That makes it so much worse.
I know.
The rules are sickening. The guys all chip in a pot of money around like 50 or 75 bucks each.
Which was a really decent chunk of change back then.
For sure. And the winner of the pot is the Marine who manages to find and bring the absolute ugliest date to their party.
Right. We see the callousness of this laid bare in Duchamps' script.
Yeah, when that private tries to join in.
Exactly. Private Factor tries to get in on the action, and Boland spells out the parameters of the game without even flinching.
Like, are we supposed to view these young Marines as pure villains? I mean, how can an audience possibly stomach spending an entire evening with characters who behave with such casual cruelty?
And that reaction is entirely justified.
Yeah.
What's so fascinating here is that the creators explicitly anticipate that disgust in their production notes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they issue a direct warning to directors and actors. They write, though the contest the Marines hold is undoubtedly a cruel one, we try not to reduce these young men to evil characters.
Interesting.
Right. They go on to say they are senseless and uneducated rather than heartless.
Senseless rather than heartless. So we're really looking at learned behavior here.
Precisely. The authors view the dogfight not just as a frat prank, but as a mechanism of extended institutional conditioning.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Well, think about the psychological demands of the military in a combat zone. These boys are being trained to, as the notes say, extradite humanity from the enemy.
Oh, wow.
Right. So by treating their dates, women in their own country, as disposable objects rather than living people with feelings, they're practicing a very specific type of psychological preparation.
Ah, I see.
They will soon be required to pull a trigger and kill men in combat, and the military needs them to do it unhampered by guilt or moral culpability.
Wow. So to survive the horrors of what's coming in Vietnam, they literally have to learn how to surgically remove their own empathy.
Hey, guys.
They have to turn a human being into a target, or, I guess in the case of the dogfight, a punchline.
Right. It is systemic dehumanization functioning exactly as intended. The game builds the armor they're going to need for war.
That is so dark. But because they have been systematically trained to view women as disposable objects, the narrative kind of essentially demands a collision with someone who fundamentally refuses to be objectified.
A catalyst that forces that armor to crack.
Exactly. And that catalyst is Rose Finney.
Yes. Rose is the complete antithesis of everything the Marines represent.
Yeah, the script introduces her as this clumsy, idealistic diner waitress.
Right. And where the Marines are backed by blaring brass and aggressive drums, Rose's musical signature is an acoustic guitar.
Oh, that contrast is brilliant.
It really is. She's a dreamer, living in a folk music world, completely insulated from Eddie's tough guy, militaristic reality.
So Eddie zeroes in on her at the diner and just totally turns on the charm.
Oh yeah, he plays her.
He feeds her this whole fabricated story about being a Wally Cleaver type, coming from humble, God-fearing folks, and she falls for it, hook, line, and sinker.
She does. And she agrees to go to this party with him.
And the tension the libretto creates here is just agonizing.
Oh, it's unbearable. As an audience member, you're sitting in the dark, knowing exactly the trap he is walking this hopeful, vulnerable girl right into.
And it all detonates at this sleazy, low-rent club called the Nightlight.
Yes.
The scene is orchestrated like a twisted beauty pageant. You have this smarmy lounge singer presiding over the room, and the Marines are actually parading their dates on the dance floor while the singer holds up numbered scorecards.
It's disgusting. But the entire system collapses when the rules of the dogfight are broken by one of their own.
Right, Boland.
Yeah, Boland is desperate to win the cash pot, so he circumvents his own rules and hires a sex worker named Marcy to play the part of his date.
Marcy's such a brilliantly written character. The script notes describe her as brash, crass, and nearly toothless.
Yeah,
She doesn't care about playing nice.
not at all. Marcy gets drunk, gets angry about being stiffed on her payment, and completely blows the lid off the secret.
She corners Rose in the restroom and just callously dismantles the whole illusion.
It is the total, violent shattering of Rose's worldview.
Yeah.
Here is a girl who genuinely believed in the inherent goodness of people, who took a leap of faith, believing this handsome soldier actually saw something special in her.
But she doesn't just crumble and run away crying, which I think is so important.
No, she doesn't.
She marches straight out of that bathroom, finds Eddie at the bar, and right on the musical climax of the scene, she slaps him across the face.
It's a huge moment.
And she delivers this absolute knockout of a line. She says, "Don't hate me. Don't you dare hate me. You are a cruel, heartless, ignorant jerk who gave you the right to treat people like this. You have no feelings."
And that slap is the first time in Eddie's life anyone has actually forced him to look in a mirror.
Wow.
Right. Up until that exact second, he has been entirely insulated by the brotherhood, by the uniform, by the unquestioned swagger of the military machine.
And Rose just strips all of that away in a crowded bar, exposing the absolute cruelty underneath.
Exactly.
Now, in a standard Golden Age musical theater structure, we all know what happens next, right?
Oh, sure.
The guy realizes he messed up. He sings a soaring apology ballad in the rain. The girl melts. And a storybook romance begins.
But the production notes practically beg directors to avoid that exact trap.
Wait, really? Because she does go on a date with him afterwards.
He does, yeah. The creators are fiercely protective of the power dynamics in the second act, though. Rose eventually agrees to go to a fancy dinner with Eddie after the party falls apart, but the notes are explicit.
Okay, what do they say?
They say she does not accept his invitation because she has suddenly fallen in love with him. She accepts it as an assertion of her own self-worth.
Ah, I love that. So she forces him to treat her like a human being, simply because she deserves to be treated like one.
Exactly. She demands that he challenge his assumption of the other. The authors state in their notes, this show is about the ways in which they change each other, not about a storybook romance.
So that's a crucial distinction.
It is. By demanding her own humanity be recognized, she inadvertently begins to unlock the humanity that he buried away.
And that dynamic makes their subsequent time together incredibly delicate.
Uh-huh.
They end up at a high-end restaurant where they clearly don't belong, right?
Yeah, right.
The waiter tries to kick them out because they don't have a reservation, and Eddie immediately reverts to his conditioning. He gets aggressive, puffing his chest out, swearing at the staff.
But Rose steps in.
Yeah, she de-escalates the situation completely, calmly. And then we get this really quiet moment where Eddie gives her a medal.
Yes. He pulls a medal out of his pocket and presents it to her, claiming it's his father's Purple Heart, a symbol of true military honor.
But the facade cracks almost instantly.
It does.
He confesses that it's a complete fake, just a trinket he bought at a pawn shop back in Buffalo.
Yeah.
He admits his real dad actually packed up and abandoned the family when he was 6 years old without even saying goodbye.
It's a stunning moment of vulnerability. He finally drops the mean Marine persona and reveals the frightened kid underneath.
Which leads them to the Golden Gate Bridge, looking out over the water in the early hours of the morning. It's November 22nd now.
The day he ships out.
Right. To Okinawa and ultimately to the jungles of Vietnam. They have finally managed to see each other as human beings, entirely stripped of the protective armor they were both wearing.
But the tragedy of Dogfight, however, is that the real world refuses to let them stay on that bridge.
Yeah, the profound emotional breakthrough they achieve is just immediately annihilated by the reality of what Eddie has been trained for.
The script introduces a sudden war sequence right after, jolting you out of 1963 and throwing you straight into the meat grinder of 1967.
The contrast between the two eras is heartbreaking.
It really is.
We see that contrast so sharply in a song called Hometown Heroes Ticker Tape Parade. Back in Act 1, the Marines were singing about how they'd return as conquering heroes, right?
Absolutely, getting everything handed to them on a silver platter.
Yeah, the lyrics were like, you pick a wife, you get respect your whole damn life. But in 1967, the few remaining Marines are practically spitting those same lyrics out with venom.
There is no confetti for the boys who made it back. There is no respect.
The musical reflects the harsh historical reality of the Vietnam War returnees. They were promised a hero's welcome by the institution that molded them, and instead they were met with public indifference.
Or in many cases, outright hostility.
Exactly. When you look at the full arc of the story, is the title Dogfight actually a massive double meaning?
Oh, definitely.
Like, it obviously starts out referring to the ugly, misogynistic party game they play in 1963, but by the end of the show, doesn't it also perfectly describe the messy, unglamorous, brutal war they were thrown into?
That dual metaphor is the structural genius of the piece. The loss of these boys' innocence on a micro level directly mirrors America's loss of innocence on a macro level between 1963 and 1967.
Wow. Yeah.
The country went from the optimistic, polished era of JFK to the deep, bloody disillusionment of the late 60s. Eddie's journey from an entitled kid to a broken man seeking out Rose for comfort demonstrates the absolute necessity of the compassion she tried to teach him.
He realizes, tragically late, that the vulnerability he was trained to view as a weakness was actually the only thing that could save his soul.
Exactly.
Because the emotional weight of this story relies so heavily on that visceral contrast, like the aggressive, loud Marine conditioning slamming into quiet, tender human vulnerability. It really is a piece that demands to be experienced live.
Oh, 100%. In a shared physical space.
Yeah, reading the libretto is one thing, but feeling the percussion shake your seat is another. Which brings us to the real-world application in our sources today.
Yes, the upcoming production by Theater 444.
Theater 444 in Geneva, New York, is staging this incredible show this August, specifically August 21st through the 29th, 2026, at the Geneva Community Center.
Which is super exciting.
Yeah, according to their press release, they have assembled a highly energetic, dynamic regional cast, drawing talent from across several neighboring counties.
Staging Dogfight locally is a very ambitious choice, though.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. It's not a title that gets done in the Finger Lakes region very often, primarily because of its vocal demands and really heavy themes.
Right.
That makes this a rare treat for theatergoers who are hungry for art with real substance.
Pam Raposa, who is the artistic director, noted in the release that the production balances those high-octane rock melodies with tender, vulnerable moments.
I love that description.
Yeah, and she highlights why the show is so relevant today, noting that it asks a vital modern question, how we treat one another when no one is watching.
And that question is the very crux of the narrative. Plus, Theater 444 is renowned for their immersive staging techniques.
Right, they really put you in it.
They don't just put on a play, they place the audience right in the middle of the human experience, breaking down the barrier between the actors and the crowd.
Well, and the press release is very transparent about the intensity of that experience.
Yes, it is.
It includes sensory and content warnings mentioning loud sounds, intense lighting effects, explicit language, and mature themes. They clearly aren't watering down the grit of the material.
Not at all.
But let me push back for a second on behalf of the listener.
Sure.
For someone who, works a stressful job and normally just wants a fun, easy night out at the theater to unwind, why should they buy a ticket?
That's a fair question.
Which, by the way, you should definitely get online in advance at theater444.com to save $5.
Good tip.
But practically speaking, why go to a show with such heavy content warnings when you could just go see a light, breezy comedy?
Well, that really pushes at the fundamental question of why local theater exists in the first place.
Okay, how so?
Escapism is wonderful, and there's absolutely a place for it. But theater, at its best, operates as a mirror.
Right.
Watching a standard light comedy is a bit like getting a quick shot of Novocaine. It numbs you to the world and makes you feel fine for a couple of hours, but it wears off the exact second you walk to your car.
Right, that doesn't really change anything.
Exactly. But seeing a piece like Dogfight, staged by top-tier regional talent, is like physical therapy.
Oh, I like that analogy.
It might ache a bit while you're in the room working through those intense emotions, but it permanently fixes how you carry yourself afterward.
Wow.
It sparks meaningful conversations with the people you came with. It provides a deeply cathartic evening that alters your perspective on empathy. You leave the building thinking differently about how you treat the people around you.
That is beautifully said.
It really is a remarkable piece of theater that explores the hardest parts of growing up.
It is. If you want to experience this transformative story yourself, do not miss Theater 444's production in Geneva this August. Go to theater444.com and secure those tickets.
Definitely do it.